There's a difference between rich and wealthy. One can buy nice stuff. The other can buy freedom. Hey guys, welcome to I'm Rich.
Now what?
How we doing, Mark?
Great, man. Just getting in the groove today, man. What's going on over there, buddy?
Bro, this is our 20th episode. This is our
Already.
I feel like we started this yesterday. I walked in and Cameron told me, hey, what's this episode 20 that we're filming today? I was like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. A lot of good stuff. But yeah, no, man, just got some good things going on up in Ohio and traveling for the summer, about to head out to Italy in a couple of weeks. And I think we're going to try to film some episodes while I'm in Italy. So yeah, man, what about you?
No, man, just sitting here, like you said, just we got some new houses being purchased, selling houses, all that fun stuff for personal things, and it's just a lot of moving parts, man. You got young kids, they're in kids camp playing, horse camp, all that fun stuff. So just navigating. And real quick, I think we should definitely say, like you said, since it's our 20th show, make sure you guys share the show, keep sharing it, keep giving us feedback, keep asking questions. We're here. We want to share. Make sure you tag Tim and I both, because when you tag us, we see it, and then we actually can maybe get you some love too by sharing your share. It's a good way to spread the love. So share the show if anything touches you, makes you laugh, gets you mad, gets you excited. Share with a buddy, share with a friend, share with a colleague, share with your enemy to show them that you're rich and now what for them. But just either way, share the show.
100%, dude. 100%. And yeah, I mean, speaking of, I want to reference that house you're buying. And we had a conversation kind of offline. I think it's just a relevant thing to discuss, though, is we'll take a quick aside and talk about this for a second. But someone brought you a house, was about to hit the market, you made an offer, and it was a cash offer with a quick closing, right? And the idea of our conversation the other day was like speed. Money is attracted to speed, right? And they could have listed it, they could have waited out for a bigger offer, they could have sat on the market for 90 days. Dude, there's this attraction, this magnetism that money has to speed and you being able to do that. And then you turn around, right? You're selling your house now, hits the market, and the neighbors are mad because it actually hit the market and they wanted to come in and make other offers. Talk a little bit about like your experience with that and just kind of some of the lessons and thoughts that we learned and we were talking about the other day.
Yeah, no, man. Listen, we got to remember I've been in business now 30 years, so real estate's been my business, so I kind of have a different muscle with that factor. Like I'm not like, oh my gosh, what about the roof leak? What about the foundation? All these things, even though you have 7-day clauses and all that fun stuff for inspections. But that deal popped up on a Saturday at 1 p.m. I was there in the house looking at it at 5 p.m. And within 24 hours, we had it under contract. They did have other offers going to come in that were higher than mine. However, it was contingent on financing, contingent on this, contingent on that. And not only that, I have a relationship with the individual presenting the offer, right? So they can say, hey, this guy's for real. Here's his number. And I go at the highest number. Dude, I don't play the game of like, let's get it for the cheapest and then go up and then get, I like speed and simplicity over dollars. So it's like, hey, here's my offer. They either take it or they don't. I know where I stand. If they take it, I'm in. If they don't, I'm out. It's real simple. Not everyone functions like that, and that's cool, whatever. And on the flip side, like you said,
point, man. Yeah. I started functioning like, I remember early on, I tried to just go in with the lowest offer. Dude, I function that exact same way now, and it's just, dude, I don't have time to go back and forth. It's like, here's my highest and best offer. I'm not going back and forth with you. Here's what I can pay. And if you want to take it, no, I'm out. And I do the same thing when I'm selling things. Like I'm very transparent. Hey, this is the lowest I can go. I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot. I'm leaving lots of money on the table, but I know what's most important to me. And that's transacting quickly and getting this off my plate and being able to buy back time and whatever it is. Yeah. And here's the lowest offer. And I'll go in and I'll cut my asking price by 5, 10, whatever percent in order to just, dude, have it off my plate and be completely transparent. So I think there's a lot to be said about going in, no nonsense.
Yeah, it is. And just being, like you said, very clear. Like when we listed we hit our lady up and said, hey, here's the number. I know what it will sell for and I know what I'll take. Here's the number I'll take. Here's the number I know it will go for. And we left money on the table. And I'm totally cool with that. The neighbors weren't, like you said, they were pissed because they're like, oh my God, you're going to mess up the comps and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, you should have refinanced or sold prior to me then. I'm not maximizing for dollars. I'm maximizing for speed and simplicity, right? Like you have to understand what you're trying to maximize. I'm going back to Ohio. We're doing all these things. The last thing I wanted to be doing is disrupting my life for the last 30 days while I'm in Florida for the summer, for the winter. And then all of a sudden now you're showing the house 3 times a day. You got to get out of the house. You got to move the kids. Like, it's not worth it to me. It's like, boom. However, on that same note, when I told the lady, I'm like, here's the number. And they came in, all cash at the number. And I was like, they can do inspections, but I fixed nothing because there's plenty of room on the bone. There's nothing wrong with the house, right? There might be a cracked roof tile or, whatever, a rock sideways on the driveway or whatever it is. And I'm like, just so you know, I don't fix anything. They can do that. If they want to buy it, they can do it. If not, we'll go to market and we'll get way more. I'm cool either way. And they know it because, again, the guy actually bought it as a lawyer. So that's always usually an interesting conversation itself. But he's super cool. And they came in, boom, the report came back, a couple things. And I was like, cool, I'm not taking care of it. But these are the things I was doing anyways. I already had stuff in the pipeline to take care of just for personal stuff. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not canceling contractors and canceling people. But, like nothing big, like some pavers fixed, roof tile here and there, and a change of pillar, so basic stuff. But yeah, man, speed and simplicity. That's how you really know. I think this is a wealth thought process as well. I see so many people live where they have to live in their house because they're not willing to sell at a discount, right? They bought it for $500K or $5 million, whatever the number is, but now it's only worth $450 or $4.5. And they hate the neighborhood, they hate the location, they hate the house. It's not convenient. They got to drive an extra 48 minutes each way every day to wherever they're going. But they can't take the L. They can't take the loss. Well, you're not wealthy, right? You're not, and I'm not even talking about just wealthy in dollars. You're not wealthy in as a you got to be happy. Like, why aren't you living in a happy world? So I don't know, man. I just think it worked out really well for me. Speed. I got exactly what I wanted on both sides, and it tends to happen a lot more now as opposed, like you said, trying to squeeze every penny and every dollar out of everything.
No, man, it's it's something that we talk about and we think about and we deal with on a daily basis, like in the real estate world and just transactions. And I think it's a very relevant thing to reference, right? Just because it recently happened for you, and I know you did a post in like the DM fam, and we were talking about it and stuff. And I think it's one of those really, really important things that money is attracted to speed, right? And attracted to people who can make decisions quickly, and that's proof of what you did. So,
Tim, I mean, real quick, again, we're going to talk about something else, but think about how many deals we lost trying to save $5,000. Now, if we could go back, we'd have bought every one of those houses and it'd be worth $500,000 more today. Everyone, at least 50 to $100,000 more minimum, right? So it's like everyone's bragging, I got the best deal. I drove it down harder, right? Novation or whatever bullshit other terms exist out there to get them down and drive them down harder. And then you lose the deal at the thing, and then you get sued by all this weird stuff. And dude, not only that, it creates a lot of stress and on the team, on yourself. You got all these offers, everyone's beating them down, and it's just not a fun place to live. But it's when you can unlock that next level, and you're like, dude, this is what I'll pay. Because again, let's say a $5 million deal. If 50 grand changes that deal, it's never a deal anyways. That's your ego trying to be the old you that used to be the hardcore wheeler dealer, the negotiator, the drive it down, blah, blah. Not only that, when I buy these properties and a tenant comes to me, in the commercial stuff, and man, blah, blah, I'm like, dude, listen. You can fix it. It's $300. I've given you a great price. I could charge you $8 a square foot. You're paying $650. I know what the market is. I'm confident that you're getting a great deal. Go somewhere else. They can't. And if they want to, I'll make more money, right? So it's like a win-win. The old me was drive that down, raise the price up, fight them, get them out, re-tenant the property. It's just a lot more stress and a lot more problems for an extra $1,500 a year.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's all these weird things that we've been taught, and I know we're going to talk about that, but what got us to where we're at is not going to get us where we're going to go. And when's the last time you audited how you buy, how you sell, why you're selling, why you're buying? Are you a maximizer? Are you a wheeler dealer negotiator? And I don't know, man. I think a lot of people put a lot of internal stress on themselves for no reason.
Dude, I agree. And It's understanding priorities, right? To your point, you're maximizing for speed, you're maximizing for happiness, right? And
Yeah.
those couple of things of eliminating headaches, buying back time, is very clear to you that that's a higher priority than the extra $1,500 or whatever it is. So,
Yeah.
no, it's good, man. We were talking offline about this, and conversations that you've had, conversations that I've had with folks recently, and I want to dive into. I actually gave a presentation on this to my mastermind a few years back about 7 different philosophies or psychologies on money in order to stay rich, right? There's different ideas and strategies and habits that you can implement in order to get rich. But a lot of that has to change in order to stay rich.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do is I want to read through each one, and then let's reflect on each one, right? And we'll dive in. We'll share some personal stories, things that we've seen in our own businesses and lives in regards to each of these, if you're good with that. Sound good?
Yeah. So we're going to have to change the show. I'm rich. Now what? Stay rich. Stay rich. Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's go. Number 1.
Cool. So these are things that I've gotten out of books, out of podcasts, and things that I've different conversations with very high net worth people and or money managers, right, of capital, and then conversations and all that stuff. And we've kind of refined it down to these 7. So number 1, and I'll read it and then we'll dive in. Respect luck as much as you respect risk. Risk is what you cannot see. It's what's left over after you think you've thought of everything. Luck and risk are the opposite side of the same coin. The luckier you are, and let's leave it at that, right? Luck and risk. So here's what a conversation that I had. Risk can be mitigated. The risk that we think about can be mitigated, right? Oh, hey, I'm going to buy this house. Oh, but it's risky that the foundation could be cracked. It's risky that the mechanicals could be broken. You can mitigate those things. Those things aren't real risk, right? Luck and risk are 2 opposite sides of the same coin, meaning getting lucky on timing, getting lucky on the market moving, getting lucky on a deal falling in your lap is similar to risk. Risk, like real risk, is COVID-19 happening, right? It's a black swan event. It's a 9/11. That is something that you can't really plan for or can't really predict is going to happen. You can mitigate other risks, right? So I look at risk in a much different way now I know I can mitigate 99% of all this stuff. True risk is like what happens when an asteroid lands on my property or something insane happens that you can't actually mitigate for. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, listen, man, I always hate talking about luck because I think people think, oh, I'm not lucky. I'll never get lucky. Those guys, the only reason they have that is because they're lucky. Well, listen, I can tell you right now, luck is a huge factor in anything. And I don't know about you, dude, but I don't want to hang out with people that think they're unlucky.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I feel like I'm very lucky. Call it blessed, call it luck, call it whatever it is, because I could be doing the same thing. I could be doing I feel like I'm lucky because I had the idea of I wanted more. I had the idea, I met this person that made me feel good. Like whatever that luck means, I think a lot of people don't really know. But you talk about risk and luck, dude. A lot of people, it's like you talk about mitigating risk. Well, some people listening don't even have an insurance policy to mitigate their death. You're going to die. You can mitigate that. That's not about, by the way, you're going to be unlucky in that day, right? You're going to die and you're not even setting your family up to be prepared to take you, to be able to do what they need to do. If you have $50 million in assets and you don't have a policy, I don't care if you're 30, 22 or, 82 or 100, you have to be mitigating risk all the time. That's what we do in business. The difference though, like you said, you talk about the foundation, I can measure against that. Spend 100 grand on the house, my downside is 100 grand, period. Right? As opposed to luck, dude, listen, I know many people that was, in 2008, a lot of people were lucky and a lot of people were unlucky. What do I mean? Well, if you were selling the house right before the crash, you were lucky because the house crashed 70%. The person unlucky in that moment is the person that bought it. Now, it'd be interesting to know where those both individuals are today, because one could say, hey, it is what it is. I learned and I grew from it. And it also depends on what their strategy was, what their cash flow position, which we'll talk more about in the future. Were they prepared for situations like this, right? But you can only prepare so much, as you know.
Yeah. And just like you can mitigate just like you can mitigate risk and reduce the downside, I think you can amplify luck, right? The harder you work, the luckier you get. We've all heard that quote, and it's you're doing the activities in order to
Yep.
drive revenue, in order to bring in deal flow, in order if you're functional in the business on that side of things, and that lucky deal pops across your desk, right? That is the home run that you were looking for. But dude, if you're not swinging the bat over and over and over and over and over again, you're not going to get lucky on getting a double or a triple or a home run kind of a deal coming across your desk. So do the activities to mitigate risk. Do the activities to amplify luck. And just a little note is the luckier you are, the nicer you should be. And dude, you're a very, very kind guy. I think I'm a pretty nice guy as well because we know how blessed and how lucky we are. And you can usually spot an idiot in the room by looking for the cruelest person, right? Like they're not very kind, and just bringing negative energy into the room. So
Yeah, they're just miserable. They're just miserable, dude. That's their. They're just a miserable individual. Here's the thing is though, as you know, dude, money only amplifies who you are.
I
So
agree.
if you're miserable without money, you're going to be a total miserable prick with money.
Yep.
That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just everyone holds this weird cycle. Oh, I got to be nice to get money. Well, that's not true. There's a lot of mean, bad people that have a lot of money. So don't think that's the only indicator. However, I do think if you're a happy person, if you have money or no money or whatever, by the way, I don't think you should say, oh, I'm happy and I have no money and I'm okay with that. Bullshit. You're not okay with that. That's what you've justified for yourself. But at the end of the day, you're definitely not okay.
100%, man. Let's go to number 2. And this one's very relevant. Boom and bust is inevitable. It's high tide and low tide. It's cyclical. You build a surplus at the top of the curve so you have extra cushion at the bottom of the curve. Plan for the downside and work the upside.
Yeah.
Dude,
what's your take on
it? Here's the thing. We know it. Like, look at any graph, any historical economic information that dude, it's all ups and downs, everything's cyclical. Everything's up and down. Like, it's a natural force in the world. The tide goes out, the tide comes back in, right? And it happens like clockwork all the time. Every 5.5 to 6 hours, the tide's out, the tide's back in, the tide's out, the tide's back in. And so, guess what? If that is a universal law and a universal truth, why would we think we're always going to be at the top of the curve, right? Why do we think that we're always going to win? Like, I get anxious when things are going so good that I'm like looking around, looking behind me, waiting for something to go bad because I'm expecting it because I know everything's cyclical. And to your point, you were talking before of like, dude, everybody's a genius when the market's good, right? Everybody's a genius. And then when the tide goes out and the market gets a little bit rougher, you start cleaning house.
Yep. Yeah, man, listen, I think you just got to know where you're at in the cycle. I think you need to keep your ear to the grindstone and know, like be in industry in specific environments or just understanding economics a little bit like, hey, you're going really heavy on this asset class and this is happening, that's happening, this happening, but don't beat yourself up too much because there's a lot of smart people with very large degrees with very amazing unlimited budgets that can't predict the markets either, right? So I see a lot of people get caught on that. Just know, it's by the way, it doesn't matter about anybody else. It matters about you and your portfolio. What's your risk side? What's your age? Where are you at in the journey? What do you care about cash flow? Are you cool to live in a tent? Why things are really hard? Like what is your thought process when it's going down or going up? And you got to edit. I think just sitting there thinking you're going to solve the problem because you're he-man or she-woman. You got to realize like, dude, these are the markets. It's what happens. So just understanding and adjusting accordingly, like you said, it's happening every 5 or 6 hours in and out. But if you show up and you don't know, you don't know it's you pull out the big yacht, right, and you're getting ready to go out, and you're like, boom, you get beached in the property, you get beached right with the yacht. It's because you didn't know low tide was coming and you were coming into the port. So I think at the end of the day, man, you got to get around people that actually knows what's going on and that's telling you. The question is, do you listen to them?
Yep. And I think you got to get the ego out of the way. Right? Like, Dude, when the ego is in the way, you're like, oh, everything I touch turns to gold. Dude, you better check yourself, right, before you wreck yourself, kind of a thing. And
Yeah.
and when times are bad, guess what, dude? I know this too shall end. This will pass, right? Think about how much, and there might be people listening who weren't involved in the '08 crash, '09 crash, and saw how bad it was. I don't know, maybe actually probably a good chunk of the crowd listening to this is because they're not newbies. But, dude, do you remember that and how everybody thought, dude, just the sky was falling and like the world was ending and real estate would never come back, and people are like, oh my, like lots of people had bankruptcies, foreclosures, short sales, like huge numbers of people had that. And I think about how dire their situations were and how horrible their circumstances felt at the time. And dude, they're still around, right? And they're now they're here. And then they built a bigger business in 2013 and 15 and 2018, and now they're worth tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And you just think, like, guess what? Even though all the commercial real estate adverse headwinds that we've faced over the past 3 or 4 years, bro, I'm still standing at least, right? I know a lot of people did get folded out. I know a lot of people went back to whatever their day job was or whatever their primary business was. And, I think if you get the staying power, it's not about getting knocked down, dude. It's about getting back up over and over and over and over again and just knowing that it's cyclical and then it's going to come right back up. And it's starting to right now. Like, we've seen a lot of really good activity just in the first half of 2026 so far. So,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, though, I mean, you and I have been around long enough, where you really realize the real people in the game that's in it for long term, as opposed to mouthing it, I'm a long term, blah, blah. Well, if you are, you got to ride the down cycles. And if you don't know how to ride them and survive them, you will, you will you have to go get a job. The truth is, though, here's the thing is, dude, the storm will always pass. But what I don't understand, people don't think about is the money doesn't go, yes, it's out of your bank account, yes, it's out of your pocket, but it went somewhere else. There's other environment, like if I'm just real estate, and that dies or gets beat up, well, that doesn't mean other money's not being made. It's just being made differently in that ecosystem, right? Maybe I have to create a service-based business to service foreclosures, short sales, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm still in the real estate category, I could do that. Or maybe I just get out and do tech or financials But when the banks are going bankrupt, that was happening in 2008, right? Like, my buddy had 400 something houses being built. He's a big track builder. The bank that he bankrolled with went bankrupt, right? So that went bankrupt. Oh my God, I'm going to lose everything. Boom, that bank gets released. And then he goes, buys all those assets back through a structure for 30 cents on the dollar. So he actually made a lot more money. Yes, it was painful. Yes, it was a storm. But like any storm, it always will pass. The question is, do you learn from it and do you grow from it? And not to say, most people just aren't willing to change. This is the only thing I know. This is how I do it. This is the way. They don't read. Dude, how many people have messed up in this game by not redoing their buy box? That's the way I buy it. Well, times have changed. It's been 3 years since you bought your first one. Like, things are changing. Are you going up? By the way, this works on both sides, right? If it's going up and you're still buying in when the way you used to buy, well, you ain't getting any deal flow. And then if it's going down and you're still buying, and you're like, dude, I got so many deals I can't handle it. Well, your buy box is probably wrong. So you're the sucker in the room, potentially. But again, if you got massive long-term visual with what this game could do for you, dude, it's amazing.
So let's talk about this. How do you build a surplus at the top of the curve so that way you have that extra cushion at the bottom of the curve? So that way you can work the upside, plan for the downside. Like, what are some things that you've done when markets are really, really good in order to either stack cash or hide money or some tangible type things that you can do in order to create that cushion?
Yeah, everyone's different here, but the biggest thing is, and this goes across all boards, is don't let your personal lifestyle supersede what you should be doing, right? Just because you made $12 million this year doesn't mean you should be living a $12 million personal lifestyle, especially on up cycles. Yes, go enjoy it, go get whatever, but don't change, don't go from the $5 million house to the $50 million house because you can afford it today, right? That's where people get smoked, dude. Yes, you can afford it today. By the way, look at the athletes and look at everyone. Yes, you can afford to buy it, but what about the $240,000 a year for maintenance? What about, and so lawn care and blah, 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 and insurance and taxes and cool. It's only $250,000. Okay. It's only $250,000, but you have 7 of these $250,000 things, right? How are you what are you doing for that? That's how people get really in trouble. It's not because they can't afford it. It's because they don't think about what it takes to afford it on a consistent monthly basis or daily basis. I like to move money around in environments that can't really access or touch. You're going to have the bucket of cash flow assets. So, if I'm investing for cash flow, if I'm investing for equity, what are my investment entity structures? What am I trying to accomplish with the money? But dude, you have to stay. Real estate investors are the worst at this, though, dude. They never stay liquid, right? Because every dollar in the bank has got to be invested. If I don't make it invest, it's really, really tough. So what I started doing is 10, 12%. Just whatever came in profit, you just start parking it into another account that you kind of out of sight, out of mind. Because all investors are the same, dude. If there's $1 million sitting in the bank, they're going to go buy $4 million in real estate.
Yep.
If there's $3 million, they're going to go buy 12. They're not even thinking what if shit goes sideways, right? Having a little bit of, this is what they think. I'll just go raise more money. Cool. The problem is when things go sideways, people aren't giving money like they used to because they're doing the same thing. They're suppressing it. They're not as excited. They're scared. They're playing a different game. They're trying to keep their cash in their bank account. So a lot of things happen at the same time. And if you're not prepared for it, as you know, you just get smoked. But there's lots of ways to do it. But just get involved. Dude, cash is king. If you have cash and things are going down, and liquidity. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. Dude, if you have a property and it's worth $1 million and you need cash, and today it's only worth 8, but yet you're going to write it out because you're smarter and better than the market and you own it free and clear. Sell it, take the $800,000, park it in your bank, and just live life. As opposed to I'm going to write it up. I'm going to do this. Times have changed. Your plan. When's the last time your plans changed? Don't you want peace of mind and simplicity and cash reserves is worth way more than an extra $200,000? But they can't get their mind wrapped around it, dude. It's wild to me.
Yep. Dude, I mean, everything you're saying, I've lived, first of all, and learned from. And, and I think a couple of things. One is, dude, I've seen it over and over and over again. Somebody makes $500,000 when they're usually a $300,000 or $200,000 a year type person, and they go and dude, they're blowing crazy amounts of money in Vegas. They're going out to $6,000 dinners, and they're dude, just completely reckless in the way that they're spending their money. And to your point earlier, dude, your lifestyle is your lifestyle. Take that excess and clear some stuff out. So a couple of things that I've done is, one, dude, I'm very disciplined with leaving a certain amount of cash in the account. That gives me peace of mind, that allows me to make better decisions on everything else and not be stressed about things because I know personally I have X number of dollars in the bank. And, that can be different for how much that is for everybody. But for me, it's about 12 months of liquidity, of knowing what my basic expenses and all that kind of stuff. Property taxes, insurance, and paying for lifestyle and all the other kind of things. The other thing that I started doing was I'm hiding money from myself in ways that are like paying off debts, right? Clearing out properties that I own 100% of. I try to clear out debts on those, pay those down, even if it's a 4% loan. Dude, who cares? I just don't want to owe anybody any money on those things. And I've done a lot of that over the past couple of years of just clearing out and making sure I have no personal debts, and even on the business side, clearing out any debts on properties I own 100% of. Or sticking it into different types of investment accounts that are either life insurance or
things that have cash value,
retirement accounts, things that also cannot be touched by creditors, right? So depending on where you live, you're in Florida, creditors can't touch your primary residence. And I don't know if people realize this, but in most states, there's some level of that. It might not be the entire 100% like it is in Florida, but I know in South Carolina, it's the first, I think it's $200,000 of your home value. In Ohio, it's another $200,000, whatever it is. So there's some level of protection there where you've always got a couple $100,000 or several $1 million. I remember hearing about the, who was it? I think it was one of the, one of the guys who did the vacation timeshare type stuff down in Florida. He built
David?
like $100 million property, went bankrupt. They couldn't touch his home. He owned it free and clear, throws a mortgage on it the next, like 2 months later, right, for $70 million, back in business, right? He's back doing
I
what
think
he's
you're talking
doing.
about David something. He's out of Orlando. He passed away since then, but yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
who it is.
Yeah.
Spiegel.
But, you
Spiegel.
think about stuff like that, paying off assets that creditors can't touch, that are in my trust, that are in my wife's name, like things like that, that you can always elevate your safety net, right, while reducing your ongoing risk and knowing that all those things are taken care of. So when the cycle comes back and you're back at the bottom, dude, you don't have to worry about those kinds of things.
Yeah, the problem is most people won't do what we're talking about. Why? Because they're measuring against people scaling really hard and really fast. It works when it works. It definitely doesn't work when it doesn't. So this is a thing. Play your own game. When you go to bed, what keeps you up at night? When you go to bed, what gets you up really early because you're stressed out about? Those are the things you start working on immediately. I need more cash reserves. Cool. Let's create a plan. In every deal that happens in my company, I'm going to start parking money in a cash reserve account to give me that 3-month, 6-month, 12-month buffer for my living expenses. And again, it could be personal and business or both or independently, whatever one keeps you excited. So now in the next 6, 7, 12, 18 months, now you've built this reserve account. Now shit goes sideways. You got 12 months of life expenses, business expenses, and reserve. Most people won't do it because it might be $2.8 million. And they're like, well, I could have that money being invested and make money on the money. Just stick it in a high yield savings account because it's not about investing for cash flow and cash. It's investing for peace of mind. Again, this is the problem with humans. Everything has to have a number attached to it to make it make sense. What is your peace of mind worth? What is the return of that? How many, like you said, clarity of decision making, being able to move on a deal when no one else can move on. Like they can't figure out how to justify it. This is why people don't even invest in themselves oftentimes, right? $5,000 to come to the event. Oh, that's a lot of money. Is it? Because if you can turn $5,000 into $50 million or $5 million or 500, like now you look like a genius if you're in the stock market. But when it's in yourself, you have to you just don't see it. It's not on a document, Excel spreadsheet,
Dude, and that's a great segue into the next one, which is all wealth is relative. Stop moving the goalpost, right? Yep. Appreciate what you have and the size, and realize that the size of the gap between your expectations and reality is what defines happiness. Let me say that again. What your expectations are, right? And what reality is defines your happiness. Charlie Munger, right? Warren Buffett's partner who passed away a couple years ago, said a lifetime of happiness can be created by having low expectations. Right? It almost sounds somber. It almost sounds sad. But dude, it's so true, right? Like I don't come from money. I like money. I like what money can do. I like the impact it can have. But dude, I don't expect to have the biggest house or the nicest car, or I like having some of these things. I like having a great house on the beach, but dude, I don't need it, right? And if it gets taken away, my expectations are pretty low. And some of the happiest days of my life was when I was the brokest in my entire life. So I can go back to that and still be pretty happy because I have such low expectations. But you got to stop moving the goalpost. You got to stop measuring yourself with the person next door who isn't disciplined with their finances, who is spending more than what they earn to keep up with the Joneses, and realizing, getting outside of that, getting outside of ego, and realizing how much more worth there comes in creating a nest egg, in paying down debts, in clearing out and knowing that you've got this financial moat dug around you that nothing can ever get through. Dude, that to me carries far more weight than trying to keep up with somebody else on what they're wearing, what they're driving, or anything like that.
Yeah, we're talking about comparison. I love to compare. Honestly, for me, I don't use the comparison to what I don't have, but what is possible to get. Agreed. You know what I mean? I see a guy that has 50 cars in his collection worth $300 million. I like that stuff. It motivates it. It doesn't demotivate me. It doesn't make me feel beneath them. It makes me actually inspired to want more out of life. Not for the money, but for the outcome of the money it could do, like the car or whatever. And I know if I get more cars like that, I have more employees, I make it more impact. Other things have to happen to accomplish that, right? So it's borrowing the belief of other people from afar. But again, we're talking about maturity, right? Here's one thing I've semi been good about this my whole life. I've never wanted to trade life with anybody because I heard something maybe as a kid. I don't know where I heard it, but it's like, say, Tim, if you have everything, but I think you have everything, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, if you're not willing to trade 100% of Tim's life, because I might like that you're cool and you have money, but I might hate your personal life, or, like there's pieces I don't like just as much as I like, right? So it's like, if I'm not willing to trade 100%, why does it matter? And secondly, I can't do it anyways, so don't worry about it. Move on. What do I want my life to look like? I think this is the problem with social media and the internet in general is everyone's watching everyone have it all in these micro moments. And then 3 years later, they end up divorced, this, lost everything. It was a big con. It was a big this. Bernie Madoff, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and you're trying to mimic that guy? You're trying to have what he has? Are you willing to do that? Because that's what it would take. That's what he had to do to get that. So it's like, why even do it? I use it for motivation and inspiration, not like though I'm not, I don't know about you, man, but like I want more. I want more, but I'm okay not to have more. But I know I can get more, and I'm willing to do the work to get more. Like this is where that lazy thing, luck thing, and it's like you have to understand the whole picture. I like big houses. I like it. I don't care about the bigger house. I want my house. This is what I want.
And that's okay to want it, but it's like I have low expectations, so I don't have to have it, right?
Like, I don't need it. I don't need it. I want it.
There's a difference, dude. I'll go camp in the friggin' woods if I need to. No, but that's the point here. The point is, dude, where are your expectations, and are you moving the goalpost in order to try to keep up with somebody else when you have other priorities that you should be focused on? And I
don't know how people have so much time to worry what everyone else has got. I don't have time to do my own shit.
It's crazy.
Right? I'm so busy building me and my family. I mean, God, yesterday I was gymnastics here, boom, 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 all over the place. I'm like, I don't know what Tim's, I don't know what anybody's doing. Shit, my wife, my schedule at that moment is telling me where to be today on calls all day, right? The problem is people have too much doom scrolling time and no direction. It's directionless effort. And then they're mad because they don't get it. Well, you got to, we're doing the work to get it, right? Where's your podcast show? Where's your influence? Where's your impact? Where's your team look like? And if you're a solopreneur, I get all that, but dude, there's different levels, different devils.
And I think that only comes with maturity over time of realizing, dude, when you see somebody online, like you and I know that that's not the whole picture. And if we want that part of it, we have to take 100. You can't just take a piece of somebody else's life. Like you have to take the whole thing, right? If you are going to compare yourself to somebody else. And I would say most of us, although Elon Musk is worth almost $1 trillion, he's also got how many kids? I don't know, a dozen kids.
13 kids or so, yeah.
Yeah, with 8 different women or something. And the dude's psycho in his, I know people who have interviewed with him, specifically, and he's asking questions, and then he just walks out of the room, and the guy's sitting there, he's like, I don't know where Elon went. Oh yeah, he just flew to. So dude, he's got so much stuff going on, and he'll tell you firsthand, you don't want to take places with me because you can't get out of my own head. And so, anyways, it's something to realize and something to be aware of, and have the wisdom that maybe you don't want 100% of what somebody else has. And most people would not do that, right? I think most of us are pretty content, or at least I am, in my own life. But
dude, you just don't know what they went through. What if they're as a child they got beat, abused, blah blah. You don't know what motivates someone to be that outcome, right? I mean, read Elon's biography, dude. You would not wanted that childhood. It's not good, and it's just very mean and abuse. They don't I want to be with my dad. I want to be with my kids. I want to be with my wife. I want to be with my friends. Unfortunately, he just can't do that, right? It's not how he was built, created, truthfully. So it's you don't. Yep. First, and again, it doesn't matter because we can't trade places. So why even put any thought or energy into it? I can be inspired, and I can also say it's life is like a buffet to me. I like what Tim's doing here. That's cool. I like what this guy's doing over here. That's cool. My job is to create the buffet I want. You might like seafood. I might like steak. There's no right or wrong. That's what makes the world go round.
Dude, I love that analogy, right? You could pick and choose, but then you have to design and build your own. right? Like you have to make sure that you can dedicate the time, dedicate the resources, dedicate the effort into achieving all those things. And it's your job to figure out where the balance or where the harmony lives in your own life by selecting and eliminating things that you see in other people's lives. I like that.
Yeah.
All right,
Cool.
next one. I think this is number 4. Getting wealthy requires taking risk. Right? We talked about that, and that's how a lot of entrepreneurs grow their wealth. Is you got to take risks. You got to do this wild stuff and put it all on a single hand in order to try to win in a big way. But staying wealthy requires humility, frugality, and paranoia. Dude, you got to be insane and paranoid about losing money. Staying wealthy is about being financially unbreakable and leaving additional room for error. Define what enough looks like so you don't have to take unnecessary risk. So here's what I've learned on this part. We grow our businesses in one way, and we think because we made money in this way, that's how we continue making money. But that's completely wrong. You have to 100%, 180, shift your mindset and be paranoid about losing money in order to sustain and maintain wealth. In order to make wealth, risky, doing stuff outside the box, like saying yes to a lot of different opportunities, saying yes to a lot of things, dude, and it shifts to all no's and having paranoia and just complete frugality and being so worried about losing money in order to then sustain and maintain that wealth. What are your thoughts?
No, man, listen, I've lost many, many millions of dollars and doing exactly what we're talking about. Like the way I got rich is doing this. The way I'm going to stay rich is doing that. And it's like you said, it's and not only that, when you start getting money, you also are not as in depth with the deals as you used to be prior because you're so entrenched because you had to make them work. Then you start getting some money, you get a little bit looser on the people and the situation, on the deal flow. Because you're trusting people to do certain things that you should not trust them to do. And by the way, I'm not saying you should trust them. You should definitely have backstops in there to protect you and protect your wealth. And what people don't realize is that, let's say if I lost $1 million today, well, it's not just $1 million. It's what was that $1 million worth to my kids 15, 20, 40, 50, 80 years from now, right? It's many, many, many millions of dollars, right? So like you said, looking at it through a different lens, this is why you have to have a financial team around you as you evolve. You have to have like people telling you, no, it's not a good deal. Here's why. Because 3 months ago we said this is the vision, and now you're over here doing this shit, and you're going to mess it all up. If you're cool with that, do it. But again, like if you're just talking to yourself, like especially if you're like a deal maker. By the way, DM is good, but deal maker is you have to become a mature deal maker, not just a deal maker in general, just to do a deal, right? Because you treat everything. I'm a hammer, you're a nail. I'm treating everything like a nail, right? And it's not good long term. So. Yeah, man, I definitely think it is, you got to evolve. And if not, you will have so much stress in your life that's unneeded that we created. We created ourselves. That's what's crazy.
And I think you and I have talked about this before is it also depends on where you are in your numbers, right? Like you might have 10 million bucks, but your goal is to hit 100 million or $1 billion. And so like you're still in that risk mode. You're still in that saying yes to a lot of different stuff mode, even though you have what most people would consider a decent amount of wealth, right? And at the same time, I think it's creating awareness around like what is the number, like what is the figure that, hey, once I get to here, now I can be more selective, right? And here's what I found is the more selective I am and the tighter my buy box gets, the better the deals I do and the more wealth I actually create in order to hit the next tier that I want to get to. And so it's actually by saying no more often that I get better opportunities and I can then impact and move forward on those ones.
Well, dude, every time you say yes to something, it's something you have to say no to in the future, right? You can't do everything. Mm-hmm. So the reason it does, the universe knows what's going on. I'm a big believer, like if I say no, and this is what I want, and I'm very clear on what I want starts showing up more. The problem is if you say yes, you never even have time to think about what you want. You never have the time in the universe to give you what you want, like because you're just simply a whore of stuff. Just give 10 whatever, he'll take anything, Like it will just keep distracting you. But when you really set real parameters, like everyone has the type. Not only that, dude, are you young? Are you old? Do you have kids? Do you not have kids? Are you healthy? Are you unhealthy? There's lots of risk levers here that we're talking about. Many, 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 right? If you find out you're going to die in the next 12 months, are you going to be investing the same way you are? Are you going all in on? Are you going to say no more? Right? Play these scenarios out in your head. Right? My kids are 5. Dude, I'm talking to some guy. His kid's 5 years old, and the guy's like working like a maniac. His kids don't know him, blah, blah, blah. He's on the verge of death, divorce. And yeah, he keeps talking about wanting to do more deals, make more money, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, you have money. You have many, many, many millions of dollars. What are you doing? Right? But all his friends are like, yeah, dude, let's do more. Let's do more. Why? Because they make money off of him.
Yeah, because they're getting ripped
right?
off.
So it's like, of course, you're not going to tell the money train, stop coming into my port, dude. Like, I'm good. Like, no, you're like, yeah, dude, like, we'll open the lane for you. Let's go. You don't care about them getting a divorce. You don't care about the kids not seeing it. Like, so you got to be careful who you're listening to and who you're surrounding around.
I think a good benchmark to aim for is like, at what number, right? Creating awareness around at what number do you need to get to where you never have to do another deal, right? Not saying you're not going to do more deals, but get to a number where you never have to do another deal. And then once you're there, you can be far more selective on the deals that you do, right? So if that's $5 million in the bank, if that's $50 million in the bank, if that's like whatever the number is that gets you to a point where you're like, I never have to do another deal. I'm going to say no to everything, right? Just F everybody kind of money. Dude, then that's when you just say no, 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 no. And it makes it a lot easier then to do good deals because you could be so selective. So, depending on what that number is, I think that's a really, really good place to be.
Yeah. Well, most people have to set the number, more importantly, stick to it. Because what happens when you start getting to that number, you start changing the number. It's usually double of what it is. If it's 5 million, now you want 10. If it's 10, you want 20. If it's 50, you want 100. If it's 100, you want 2. Like, so it's it's your ego, dude. It's your ego. So, pay attention.
Yeah, I think it's good to go through a market cycle. Like a lot of these play off of each other, right? I think it's good to go through a market cycle and have your ego slapped around a little bit. Dude, listen, nobody likes going through a downturn when you're going through the downturn, but as I feel like we're on the back end of, at least from the commercial real estate side of things, right? All the expenses went up, interest rates handcuffed everybody from any sort of exit strategy. You can't refinance, you can't resell, you can't it's been a very, very difficult 3 or 4 years in the commercial real estate world. And but I feel like we're on the backside of it, and it's cleansed so much, right? It's cleansed a lot of the people who weren't qualified, who were screwing up the market, who were investors, and now they're back doing something else, chasing some other shiny object. It's cleansed a lot of the, dude, I was on top of, everybody. I was the guy in 2018, 2019 in the multifamily space, right? Everybody was rooting for me and cheering for me. And it's interesting to see how some people have gotten quiet, how some people have become not friends, how some people who were pretending to be friends, right, when they wanted to leech on and ride the wave with me and utilize my, the views and the show and the stages that I was on, all that kind of stuff, and how now they're sabotaging or talking about me behind my back. And you hear this stuff, but dude, thankfully a market cycle has turned. Thankfully, I've gotten that bad, fake, right, quote, friend out of my life, right, and got these people gone. Thankfully, it's gone through, and I've been able to refine my portfolio. I've been able to pay more attention to, where I want to hide money in, not hide, I say hide it from myself, right? Because I like to just put it in places where it's not just sitting in a bank account where I have easy access to it, because then I'll go and invest it or spend it somewhere. So I hide it in retirement accounts. I hide it in life insurance policies. I hide it in assets that my wife owns that she actually has to be the one to sell it or refinance it or whatever, because I'm not on the title or I'm not on the deed or whatever. And so I think about that kind of stuff. It makes me sharper, and it makes me way stronger going into the next positive market cycle because we went through these things. And you're able to trim fat, man. You're able to go through and I think about how frivolous we were with spending at some of our events and some of our dinners and some of the stuff that I used to do when money was just flowing, dude, freely, and it was just so much I didn't know what to do with it. Dude, profit is not natural, right? Profit it usually just goes out the door when it's more money than you're used to. And you have to have this psychotic frenzy of or mindset of like wanting to save or wanting to like reposition it. And again, building the moat, right? Building this financial fortress around you and your family, so that way when the downturn comes, and you know it's going to come, nothing can break through, right? And it's going to still maintain this level-headedness, even in the downturns, even in the upturns of being able to make good business decisions.
Yeah. No, for sure, man. I think it's great stuff.
All right, next one.
Yep.
There's a difference between wait, did I already do this one?
No.
No.
Not yet.
There's a difference between rich and wealthy. One can buy nice stuff. The other can buy freedom. The wealthy people use money to buy time. You and I have talked about this all the time, right? This is probably one of the biggest things we discuss on the show, is like buying back time with your wealth, right? That's a much higher value asset than actually money is. But every dollar of an asset that you own is part of your future that you own.
Yep.
Every dollar of liability in your life is part of your future that someone else owns. The bank, right? The taxes, the city, whatever it is. So every asset that you own is part of your future you own. Every liability you have is part of your future that somebody else owns. Thoughts?
No, man, listen, again, what motivates you? It's like, I have a tendency to pay cash for everything. If I can't pay cash, I don't buy it, right? That's a good no debt policy, but also not a good growth policy, depending where you're at in the cycle. So it's like you got to figure out where you're at. You're always going to have debt, right? You're always going to have that, like you said, taxes, insurance, these things that just are part of that. We can talk about that's a whole nother subject where we all are slaves to the government at this point. I mean, it's very obvious. Like, they take 50% of our money and give to other countries. That's a whole nother story. But like, being wealthy to me, like, this is how I think about wealth. If I go to a hotel room, and this has happened, and I don't like it, I book another hotel. I don't just stay in it because I paid for it already, right? I have choices. I don't have to eat shit. I don't have to stay there because it costs $1,800 a night. I'm going to the $7,000 a night one. That to me is wealth, right? I have choices, and I can make those choices. I have time. I see, again, money is a convenience. It's a tool. That's it, right? What you do with that tool is up to you, right? Some people have a tape measure tool. Some people have saws. Like, what do you do with these tools? If you don't know how to use them, by the way, they're pointless. But what makes you happy? What motivates you? What keeps you wealthy, right? Because again, dude, I don't need money to be wealthy. You know what I mean? I don't just need money. I need peace. I need happiness. I need, spiritual God, all these things. I need a lot of stuff. Money is just an amplifier of everything to make me happier, right? I could give more to charity. I could solve more problems with people, but like, some problems aren't worth solving. They got to solve them on their own. You know what I mean? So like, and by the way, that's a whole nother, we could talk about giving to family, giving to friends, giving to people who care. Like, so yeah, man, I think definitely got to understand the difference. I've been rich and I've been wealthy, The cool thing about being wealthy, dude, you can do both. You can buy whatever you want, but once you get wealthy, you kind of don't want to just buy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's the difference. I mean, that's what this show's about, right? It's I'm rich now. What?
Yeah.
It's pivot your mindset to being wealthy and buying back time, right? Because there's a lot more than just the financial side of things. And I understand the title is kind of like this buzz thing that people can judge without knowing, the depth of what we're talking about.
That's called marketing. That's called marketing.
It's I think it's a phenomenal. You came up with it, so I got to give you credit for it. But I think it's so good because you get this money and there's a lack of fulfillment, right? When you're just rich. And when you pivot to the wealthy side of things, that's what's next, right? To me, it's buying back time, it's giving more, it's impacting more, it's spending more time with your family, your friends, your loved ones, doing hobbies that you enjoy, focusing on your health, focusing on helping other people. Like, that's all the cool stuff. That to me is true wealth. And I think defining that in your own life is going to be really, really important to living a fulfilled life.
Great, man.
All right, next one is have a plan, and then plan on that plan not going as planned, right? There's a quote. It's like, you plan, God laughs, and that's it. And to me, that just means, dude, you got to go with the flow sometimes, right? You got to be ready for it. Don't get upset. have a plan. Dude, I spend a lot of time planning. I spend a lot of time scheduling things. I spend a lot of time getting things. But again, it goes back to the low expectations. I expect shit to go sideways. I expect things to go wrong. I expect obstacles. I expect, I'm planning a trip around the world. We're going to take the kids out of school next year, and we're going to Europe for 4 months. Then we're going to South America, and then we're going to Australia, New Zealand for about 3 months, in South America 3 months. And so we got this epic trip planned, and I'm in the process of planning it. And I'm just thinking I need to leave gaps for shit to go wrong. I know it's going to go wrong. I know it's going to go sideways. I know something's going to be messed up. I know we're going to lose luggage. I know that they're I know these things because I have low expectations because I'm not oblivious to this kind of stuff. And I think the harder part is actually getting my wife and kids to have low expectations, right? Everybody's so excited, but I got to tell them, hey, things are going to go wrong. And we can plan, but we also have to plan on the plan not going as planned.
Yeah, I don't even think it's low expectations. I think it's more realistic expectations.
Yeah,
right? If you travel for 365 days in a row, why wouldn't something happen? I assume it's going. Truth is, I assume it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Right? We're very risk intolerant. It's just go with the flow. It's part of the game. It's okay, well, we can't take that car. We got a flat. Okay, we're going to get in this car. We're going to take this. You're just going to go with the flow. So it's not even low, dude. It's just realistic. This is why most people will never move, though. This is why most people will never grow. Is because they're so busy trying to get everything perfect that they never take action, right? Just what if you just say, hey, I'm cool if everything blows up, but I'm willing to take the act. And it will always work out. It's weird, though, because realistic expectations, the plan never is the plan at the end of the day. It's the okay, this is ideally the plan, but things will edit, things change, things happen. You're still here. You'll still be around. It's okay. That's the reason most people don't do it is because they're afraid of rejection, afraid of failure. Truth is, some people are very afraid of success because they don't know how to handle it, right? So what's controlling you? And that's the thing you need to get a handle on.
100%, man. So
yeah.
Just expect that, guys. And that's totally cool. And everything's okay there, right? You can plan everything. If it goes sideways, life's going to be fine. Don't worry about it.
I guarantee whatever plan you have will go sideways, period. How you deal with it when it goes sideways is where the magic happens.
100%.
That's where you grow. That's how you learn. That's how you evolve. That's how you win. It's guaranteed to happen. Not maybe will it. 100% guaranteed to happen. Have you ever watched? There's not one person in this world that's not experienced this, but if you go on the Super Bowl and blah, blah, do you think Tom Brady, when he was throwing that pass, he thought he was going to get intercepted on blah, blah, I don't even know when this happened, but I'm sure it's happened. And boom, now they're down 7 points, 3 seconds left, and they come, they don't plan on that. The plan is to go in there and obliterate them and take over and win by 100 points. They didn't. They barely won by 1. But they won. That's all that matters. It's ugly. It's mean. It's disgusting. That's why people won't do it, dude, because it's hard. It's ugly. It's, and it really shows who you are in those moments when the plane goes sideways. Tim, I don't know about you. When shit's going really sideways, I actually get very calm and clear, right? It's almost like the storm, here's where we're at. When I'm not, I almost have too many options. I almost have too much I can do. But when things are really bad, if you see a car wreck and an arm hanging off, or are you thinking about going to the Bills game or this game or that? No, dude, I need to help them. I'm very singular focus to help them. Yes, this is going to happen. This could happen. Boom, you're assessing situation, objective. I got to call this. Boom, 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 boom. There's a structure to that. But people won't put pressure on that moment to have that opportunity to scale, to grow as a human, right? Because they're too busy planning. I got to plan it,
100%, man. No, we're on the same
plan.
page there.
Let's go do it. The plans go do it.
Last one.
Plan. Yeah, sorry.
Achieving average results consistently over time is far more powerful than achieving above average results over a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Average results consistently over time is far more powerful than achieving above average results over a short amount of time. You got to remember, pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. You got to know your game, play your game, stay focused on your game, And the other one I want to talk about is recognizing appealing fictions, right? Something that looks good from afar. You get excited about it. Somebody's opening up a restaurant, or somebody's opening up a distillery, and oh man, you just read about how The Rock made $1 billion on whatever his tequila, Terramana or whatever his tequila is, right? And George Clooney made $1 billion on his tequila, and like, oh, maybe we should get into distillery business. Like, dude, that's an appealing fiction, right? That's not normal. You don't have the same influence. Like, there's a totally different moves that get made on that front, and recognizing that, and recognizing that it's a fiction, right? Obviously, it's appealing. There's a lot of positive, exciting things out there, but realizing that you're chasing ego, you're chasing something that isn't going to really pan out, and better, right? But I think that the whole side of consistent base hits win baseball games, right? It's not home run after home. Like, dude, consistency in base hits over and over and over again is what wins baseball games, not just swinging for the fences all the time. What are your thoughts on that?
No, dude, listen, I agree. I'm not good at it sometimes, but I agree. You know what I mean? I see opportunity. I'm an opportunist. Sometimes the deal looks really good and I get involved. I don't underwrite correctly for whatever reason, speed or trust. And, thinking I'm going to make 30% in a month, I lose a lot of money, right? So if I look back, and I will not do this because I might like jump off a bridge, but if I look back and I plugged in my cash at these moments and I just put it in the S&P or something very basic, like stuff I'm actually not for, but like it was steady, Eddie, consistent, blah, 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 blah. Dude, I might be worth 10 times more than what I'm worth today, truthfully, right? Without the stress, without the headaches. The problem is that's not who I am, right? So there's kind of that dichotomy of like, yes, I know I need to do that, but that's not how I function, right? So it's like, okay, cool. We'll take 50% and put in the boring shit and 50% on the risk factor shit. Figure out because again, it's easy to talk about this stuff, but actually executing it and sticking with it is, for me, is the hardest part, right? I know what to do. That doesn't mean I do it. However, I do create guardrails in that structure. Okay, cool. I know how to do that. And actually, it's more weighted than 50-50. It's more like 70 into the consistent basic shit, 30% in the risky stuff, right? As I get bigger and older.
Which has changed over time.
Oh, it was 200% in on the risky stuff, right? I can borrow from this, and I got this, and I'm going on it, and then I'm paying investors back, like all this other stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think it's but we talked about that earlier, right? You've got to evolve, you got to change your boxes as you get to a different level. I can't be this crazy. I've already hit my number. Any dollar I make today, I'm not going to spend it. I can spend it, invest it, or whatever. But like, I don't need an extra $100,000 today. That ain't going to do it. Like a million, like it ain't going to do anything. If anything, I might buy another car or do something like that. But like, I'm not doing anything with it. It's just money, right? I'd rather, and I'm not willing to risk $1 million to make $1 million, right? It just doesn't make sense today where I'm at my journey. Now, if I was in a different level and younger and no kids and whatever, I'm all in, dude. My personality's all in general, though. With friends, with wife, with kids, with everything.
It reminds me of John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller is famous for saying, gamblers drill for oil, businessmen refine it, right? A gambler who's drilling for oil might strike oil, right? And they might get rich, but it's a flash in the pan type of a thing, right? The businessman who refines oil has a much more predictable business model, right? So if somebody goes out and drills for oil and they get rich, they bring it to the refiner. And if somebody goes out and drills for oil and they don't find oil and they go broke, the businessman, the refiner, is not adversely affected by that, right? But they have consistency in their business, right? And it's consistent wins over time, which is what built John D. Rockefeller to be the wealthiest person who's ever lived, right? Like his company was 2% of the gross domestic product of the United States. Like nobody will ever be that wealthy compared to the GDP of the leading country in the world ever again. It's just not going to happen. And so I think about that in, yes, no kids, no wife, straight out of school, or like nothing to lose kind of. Hey, dude, go and drill for oil in order to get that big flash, because you don't really have a floor, right? You're already at your floor, so you can only go up from there. And and the sky's the limit kind of a thing. So maybe you go do and you do take those risks earlier on, but once you have that, then you start pivoting over and working within the percentages of, all right, now it's 20-80 or 50-50 or 80-20, right? The other way of how you're allocating your money. But also realizing, and this is, I think, a lot of wisdom on your part, is realize who you are. Dude, if you put your money into the S&P and you sat there for the past 15 years, you would want to jump off a bridge of boredom and lack of impact to other people's lives, because I know that's a big driving force of why you invest in certain projects. It's not for the project, it's usually for the person. And if it blows up, it's because that was a bad person, right? Who was just wearing a mask that they were a good guy. And but I think you'd be far less happy knowing that dude, like what am I going to do with my time? What am I gonna do? Like, you'd have to find something else to fill it, and it wouldn't be as exciting as the deal hunting that you do, right? And it's working within those parameters. It's like the 80-20 rule. It's like, oh, hey, I have 100 employees, and I'm going to do the Jack Welch thing where I just trim the bottom 20%, right? Trim the bottom 20%, and I don't have any problems because they create 80% of the headaches that I have to deal with. Well, dude, now you're left with 80 employees, and the same Pareto rule, right? The 80-20 rule still exists with those 80 employees, and you find out that the bottom 20% of them create 80% of those headaches. It's not something you try to change. It's something you try to work within. It's something that let's backfill it with 20 more employees, right? And figure it out that way. Or we start shifting the percentages like you talked about and I just mentioned too. And it's understanding how to then integrate more consistency in your business versus being all in on the risk side of things.
Absolutely. With the John D. Rockefeller story, the truth is, at the end of the day, we need both, though, to make it work. We need the gambler and we need the refiner, right? We need them both, because the refiner ain't going to gamble, the gambler ain't going to refine. It's just not the personality traits and types. Like, I think about, I don't gamble. I don't go to the casino. I have beautiful ones right down the street. It's not my thing, right? I don't like it. Because again, if I put $5,000 down and I win $5,000, it doesn't do anything. If I put $5,000 and lose $5,000, I'm mad, right? So it's like the risk versus, it's not fun for me. However, there's buddies of mine that they absolutely love the recklessness of it, right? Because they're going to either win really big or lose really big. They don't care either way. It's just fun for them. They enjoy it. So we need both sides of that. So figure out who you are. Like, at the end of the day, dude, who are you? Who are you? What do you want to be known for? What do you want to do, right? And more importantly, just do it. But have guardrails at the same
100%.
time. No, this is great, man. This is good. This is a long show. But also a great one, and I think there's lots of big takeaways. I hope you guys got some huge takeaways with this.
Yeah. I think it's things that I've recognized, things that I've seen, things that I've read about and reflected on in my own life, and had conversations at masterminding events or one-on-one with you and other great business minds that I've talked through these things with, and that I've seen these patterns, right, that keep on showing up, and these 7 are 7 that I've recognized and again, had conversations about and addressed with different individuals. So would love your guys' feedback on any of these and any other things that psychologies that you've seen shift in you or others as they've gone from creating money to then shifting to wealth, right? Like, what are some of the psychological habits and psychological patterns that have pivoted once you've gotten money in order to then maintain it and then create more fulfillment in your life? So appreciate you guys being here. It's always a fun conversation with you, Mark.
Totally.
And again, as Mark mentioned before, like, we're not selling anything, we're not promoting anything. Like, all we ask for is just give us a 5-star review, right, on the local podcast channel. Give us a thumbs up if you're on YouTube. Give us some comments. We'd love your feedback on this stuff. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are and insights that you might have into what we're talking about. And if you are somebody who is worth $100 million plus, reach out to us. We might even love to have you on the podcast, have a conversation with you about what you're doing. Or if you work with ultra high net worth individuals and you see some of these patterns come up over and over and over again, we might invite you on to have a conversation on a future episode. So
absolutely, pull back the curtain. Let's get exposed and share with people what we got going on, man. I love this stuff, Tim. Appreciate you guys being here. Share the show. Tell your friends about it. 5-star review, like Tim said, and tag us. Please tag us, ask questions. We're here for you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, Tim.
Appreciate y'all. See you next week on I'm Rich, Now What?
Let's go.